Have you heard of cryonics?
Cry what?
Cryonics, frozen bodies. This university has the biggest cryonics foundation in the country.
At the end of our lives, are we condemned to be worm food and to rot inside the bellies of maggots? Or could we rise from the dead without an acquired taste for brains?
Translation, zombies.
How does one go about the business of escaping death? Do you sign away your soul to Satan in exchange for immortality? Or is there a more human way to do it? While the minds of men have theorized immortality by fantastical methods like vampirism or making pacts with the devil for centuries now, death has always been an absolute truth that has remained uncontested since the dawn of time itself. Well, until the advancement of cryonics, that is. Yes, that's true. We shall explain it further today. The word cryonics has its etymological roots in the Greek word for cold. And yeah, that pretty much sums up what this nearly fictional process looks like. The best way to describe cryogenics is that this almost unfathomable method of cheating death gives you a chance at living again by essentially putting you in a freezer. Also called cryogenic freezing and cryopreservation, this nearly fictitious concept involves storing the human body at low temperatures, usually at -196 Celsius or -320.8 Fahrenheit for our friends in the States. And at the end of the day, hoping that advancements in muscle regeneration or other scientific technologies will make it possible for the body to be resurrected one day. You freeze yourself, essentially freezing time in the hopes that you will one day live again, possibly hundreds of years in the future. Although it is still debatable whether the resurrected person will be the same as before with their memories and personalities intact, if someone offers you the possibility that some parts of your essence will live on, will you not take it? So what then is the procedure of defying the laws of nature? The primary condition, due to obvious reasons for cryogenics, is that the individual must be declared legally or clinically dead. The procedure is not, nor is it planned to be, conducted on able-bodied or living individuals. Once the patient is pronounced dead, the body is cooled down immediately to preserve brain function or whatever is left of it. This step is followed by the replacement of blood with a cryoprotectant solution that is supposed to protect your insides from damage. This process is called vitrification, and it actively prevents cellular damage. Though there are some that say this right here is where cryonics goes wrong, as vitrification renders just a little ways south of useless. Before we move on, are you enjoying this video? Well, don't forget to subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, let's get back to the freezing process. The body is then further cooled to -196 degrees Celsius and kept in a cryogenic chamber filled with liquid nitrogen. Yeah, that stuff is cold. Remember what it did to the Terminator? This prevents body tissue from decomposing and preserves the intricate structure of the brain. Or so it's believed. Cryogenic freezing has been ongoing for a while, and apparently there was a frenzy for this thing back in the 60s and 70s, and even now, there are like 1,500 people in the United States alone who are planning to get themselves frozen after they kick the bucket. Talk about falling in line. And no, this stuff is not cheap, because having your unlived self cryogenically frozen can cost you upwards of $200,000. It turns out that only the crazy rich people can do crazy rich people stuff. There used to be a whole lot of companies actually offering cryogenic freezing and storage as a service, but most of them couldn't keep themselves frozen in the market. But there are still companies like the Cryonics Institute and the Alcor Life Extension Foundation, who will happily put you on ice for the right amount of money. There are cheaper options if you want to go easy on your pocket. You can get yourself up on the resurrection waitlist for as low as $28,000. But there's no guarantee that your body's gonna see next Monday. Cryogenic freezing may sound like a fun thing to do, but in actuality, this is a little more complicated. You see, you can't just walk up to a company like Alcor and tell them you want yourself turned into a popsicle. It doesn't work like that. There are certain conditions that need to be met. Number 1, like we said before, you need to be dead. And number 2, you need to be intact. Yeah, this is where things get a little messy. If the body of the individual who wants to get frozen to a later date is damaged, say you kick the bucket in an accident, it isn't so easy to just freeze you because part of your body is actually physically missing. Then bringing you back, even with future technology, is impossible. So if you're on a cryogenics waitlist, do not, I repeat, do not do any extreme sports.
For spelunking.
Spelunking.
Yeah, cave diving.
Another big hurdle that cryogenics has faced is the fact that it's kind of not as scientific as some people make it sound. In fact, it's almost quackery, according to most established fields of science. You see, if you were to listen to most accepted medical professionals, they'll tell you that cryogenics is a pseudoscience and that it's nothing more than a scam because, in their humble opinion, brain function cannot be restored to the level of cognitive abilities after brain tissue has started to decompose. In other words, even if you freeze your body immediately after death, enough damage has occurred to your neurons that it cannot be reversed. Some scientists even go so far as to say that it's the process of cryogenic freezing itself that makes resurrection impossible. This is because the very process of freezing muscles at a temperature that low breaks apart their molecular structure, making it impossible for them to move as they once did. But let's say, for hypothetical consideration, you are able to completely preserve a body and you do manage to come up with some miraculous way of bringing the frozen dead back to life. And that's highly unlikely because, well, cheating death should be at least a little harder than putting the body into a glorified freezer. But still, what would it look like? Cryogenic freezing is, in fact, scientific. But the science behind it is iffy at best, so we'll have to turn to the realm of philosophy and ask, what does being alive actually mean? Because cryogenists seem to think that being alive only means you have a functioning body and a beating heart. They entertain no ideas of the soul or the specific thing that makes you alive and cannot possibly be replicated by any process of regeneration. It'll be like trying to turn a phone back on because you kept its body safe, but trying to do so without its battery. It's just not gonna work. Resurrection itself is a weird concept, and dozens of writers have written about it in their horror stories. And I'd imagine trying to reanimate someone frozen in ice would be kind of a gamble. You could get it right, which again, the science argues that you can't. But if you do somehow manage to succeed, what guarantee do you have that the person you're bringing back is the same human that died? Cryogenics does not account for emotions, feelings, and memories, functions of the brain that cannot be frozen nor understood. Not to mention the fact that most companies working on cryogenics can go out of business at any time, like many did, leading to the bodies being thawed out and decomposing. As of right now, there are almost 300 people in the United States who are frozen cryogenically in homes to be brought back someday. There are even rumors that Walt Disney himself is among them.
Are you saying this is a conspiracy?
I should stop myself before I get into the whole Disney Frozen conspiracy. At the end of the day, cryogenic freezing is one of the infinite possibilities of scientific power that we as humans can hold someday. It's existed in the realm of science fiction for decades, with cryogenic sleep pods being a constant in all space exploration stories. But this particular piece of sci-fi has managed to creep its way into reality. One can only assume that in a world of infinite possibilities, we are bound to reach a point where humans can in fact cheat death. Will that be through some potion of immortality? Some elixir of life? Advancements in modern medicine? Or by sleeping in an icy grave until the world is ready to wake you up again? Only time will tell. As a field of study, cryogenics deals with other things as well, such as the preservation and study of organic matter, so perhaps calling it a complete sham would be an overstatement. Now, people, listen up. You may do what you will with this information. You can run to your nearest cryogenics lab and ask to be turned into a popsicle, or you can steer clear of this almost cartoonish idea. That's what I'm doing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be taking my leave for now. But rest assured, I have no intention of letting this channel freeze, cryogenically or otherwise. So kindly show some love by pressing that subscribe button to heat things up and ring the bell next to it to know every time I drop a new video. Thanks for watching.
Hasta la vista, baby.